Hey guys, it's Tiffany, and you found me on the Wise Skies podcast. And today we're going to talk about the June 2022 forecast. I get really animated and excited when I'm talking about astrology and looking at all the transits. It's kind of like a meteorologist getting excited about the weather that's coming, and you can start to see the patterns, and you can start to see the energy amp up, and you can also see the energy release a little bit. And to be fortunately, that's what June feels like. It feels like a little bit of a release of energy, maybe a plateau, a time to rest and restore. It doesn't feel super pressurized. It feels like we can just start to enjoy the passage of time, right? And that's really the main thing, is as long as you're enjoying the passage of time, that you don't let the mind get all worked up and chew on too much mind candy, that you just enjoy the passage of time, right? That's one of the main I don't know, like juicy bits for being alive. It's like, did I enjoy my life today? Right? It doesn't mean that every day has to be perfect. It just looks like we're more kind of in a lazy river in June than we are like gripping onto a surfboard during this huge tsunami, right? So it feels like the energy starts to even out a little bit. The numerology switches from a 2 to a 3. 3 is about connection, creativity, charisma. Main thing is connection, right? Connection being the opposite of addiction, right? It's where we come together in community. And so there's going to be times throughout the month where you're going to start to question leadership or question the groups that you're in, and you might make some changes. But the idea here is that June is a great time to gather, to get together. So keeping that in mind too, who is it that you want to gather with, spend time with, spend your energy with? I guess a caution side of connection is overcommitting, being overcommitted, overexerted, doing too much, right? So just be aware of that. If you feel like you have committed to too much, see where you can reel it in a little bit. The best days of the month are going to be the 6th, the 20th, the 21st, and the 29th. The most challenging days, I think, are going to be the 13th through 15th. I can explain why I think that if you want to check it out on the blog at wiseskiescollective.com. If you're new and you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and like the video. And if you're listening to it on your podcast, please also subscribe there. It helps our channel. We really appreciate it. So just an overview, a lay of the land. For those into astrology, Mercury is going to go direct in Taurus. It'll move into Gemini. Saturn and Neptune are both going to retrograde. The Sun will enter Cancer. Venus will enter Gemini. I'm going to tell you what that all means here in normal people language as we go through the month, week by week. The Sun, if you're looking at the transits in human design, the Sun is going to move through gates 35, 45, 12, 15, and 52. And so another marker that we are just hungry to get together, to gather information, to have new experiences, to make new connections, or to have nostalgia with old connections, right? So Saturn and Neptune retrograde are probably the bigger themes of the month. For our students, Saturn and Neptune go retrograde 4.5, 5 months a year. So this isn't earth-shattering information. This is a seasonal thing, right? The wheel turns. The second half of the year feels different than the first half of the year. And so, if you think about Saturn retrograde, it's usually like a miniature Jupiter in the sky. It's usually has a little bit of that opposite energy into it. And so where can you loosen your grip? Where can you let go a little bit? Where can you hold on loosely but don't let go? Where can you create a little bit more discipline in your routine, just for you, right? This isn't discipline for other people or making people adhere to your schedule or your timeline. It's just like in my own life, in my own heart, what needs a little bit more consistency, a little bit more, what's the word that starts with a D that just means like you show up on time? Can't think of it. Maybe you're thinking of it. So that's kind of Saturn retrograde feeling all month. Neptune retrograde feeling all month is going to be things like, wow, what I thought was true wasn't true at all. And that's when the illusions kind of fade into truth slowly over time. And that's why if you were listening to the May forecast and you were in the Mercury retrograde period and you were gathering different data points, that's why it was important to not make hard, fast decisions during that time, because now in June, it's like, oh, things are starting to make sense. And sometimes that can be really disappointing. And sometimes that can be a huge relief. And things with this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction have not been what they seemed, right? We've been talking about that for a couple of months. So things aren't as they seem, and they start to reveal themselves slowly over time. So that's a Neptune retrograde vibe. The first week of June. So we're going to go week by week. The first week is we're going to look at the 1st through the 5th. Mercury's going to go direct. Saturn's going to retrograde in Aquarius, and the sun will be in gate 35. And so this is a great week to really stay conservative, to really trust yourself, be responsible. This isn't a week to like blow it or do big spending or make a crazy investment, or there's opportunity to have that buyer's remorse feeling, the emotional hangovers, like, oh, I kind of went overboard. So this is a week to really just go steady. If you are having any like stubborn tendencies or meeting people that are really stubborn or having a hard time just having a breakthrough, Joe Dispenza teaches some wonderful courses. I get Gaia, but maybe you can find him on YouTube or somewhere. He's got some great books and materials too. And I just love one of his exercises for rewiring your brain. So if you are finding some of that Mercury and Taurus, like those stubborn tendencies, Saturn's retrograde, and I'm feeling kind of like, ugh, and I'm wanting to get out. So I just get out of that like feeling of the pressure of it. So I overspend, overdo, overcommit, overconnect, and then I have that regret. You know, if that is a pattern in your life, you're probably going to see it that first week of June. And so to optimize this time, it would be to rewire your brain. And Joe has a great formula for it. And I love it because he quotes the ancient yogis. And so he just like, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. I like that guy. But one of the exercises that he offers is to just slow the breathing down, focus on the heart. You know, sometimes I'll put my hand on my heart to help focus the energy. There are brain cells in your heart, right? And you're going to soften in. You're going to kegel. You're going to tighten up like the yogis. And then you're going to feel your way into a really positive, joyful, grateful, love experience, right? You're going to like remember how that feels. Oh, you're kegeled, you're relaxed, you're breathing, you're thinking about your heart. And then you're going to overlay an intention on top of that. And that is the process of rewiring your neural pathways with what you want, instead of just living out the same program, right? The same stubborn tendencies, the same walls that we're hitting. And so, you know, I find when I'm trying to make a big change in my life, I'll have 80 reasons why not to sit down for 5 minutes and meditate with this simple technique. But, you know, it's worth considering. It's worth considering if you want a different result, right? So if something's wrong, fortunately, I'm the problem and therefore I'm the solution. And so I can rewire some of that. So it takes practice, it takes time, it takes willingness to experiment. It feels like hungry hearts in the first week of June, hungry hearts. And so we're going to have that sense of yearning and that push pull and that hitting up against something and that ability to be liberated from all of the things that the mind creates. I know that sounds super hokey and you're like, what do I do that week? But the idea is stay conservative, go slow, pace yourself, and be aware if you are really resisting something, there's a little exercise for you. That week we do our first Thursday human design call at noon. And so if you are part of our membership, please join us on Zoom, and we will be talking about one of the centers. I think we're talking about the Ajna Center next. So that is the upside down triangle below, like here's the, oh my God, it's below the top one. What is it? Why am I blanking? Mercury retrograde, they're leaf blowing out there. But the Ajna is the second one, right? So I think that's what we're going to talk about in June. So if you're part of our membership, the link is in your membership portal, and I'll also email it to you guys. And if you want to be in the membership, it's just at wiseskiescollective.com. If you're catching this before June, we're having a membership drive, so it's only $22 now. In June, the price will increase. So we'd love to have you. And that's my marketing pitch. So the second week of June is the 6th through 12th. And I feel like we've got the sun sextile Chiron, Mercury is going to trine Pluto, Venus is going to conjunct Uranus, and the sun will be in gate 45. And so there's going to be elements of leadership that we're going to notice. There's going to be elements of just attraction to unusual things, attraction to crises, attraction to like I always think of hairless cats when I'm trying to describe this transit, because it's like maybe you were a Labrador dog person your whole life, and all of a sudden like a hairless cat walks into your life and you're like, that's the one. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of like, whoa, didn't even know I liked that thing, and I'm into it now. So replace that with a better analogy that makes more sense for you. But that's the week. It's like there's unusual clues, different things are coming to us. There, Sun sextile Chiron, that's a very healing mojo. Mercury trine Pluto, that's very like Nancy Drew mojo, where you're uncovering things. Things are starting to reveal themselves, like I said, slowly over time. Trust issues can pop up during this time, because you're like, no, that can't be the truth, right? And then you question and you go through the 5 stages of grief, and you're trying to hang on to something that's not good for you. And it's like the death card reversed, and you should be letting it go. But the idea is like, wow, this ray of sun, this like ray of inspiration with natural organic leadership is giving you the opportunity to kind of recalibrate what you want to say yes to and what you want to say no to. I have gone through a really weird period of my life where I have said no to more things than I've said yes to in a really long time. Like, you want something done, ask a busy person, and I somehow get it all done. But I have been maintaining my energy differently lately. And I feel like this is a week where that natural leadership, it's like, okay, Tiffany, actually, this is a no for you. Do you want to experiment with that and see how you feel about it? You can always change your mind later. It's just an experiment. But this second week of June, the 6th through 12th, you know, like it's in the gate, like the Queen gate, right? Isn't that 45? And so I did this beekeeping talk with this group of 4th graders. It was super cute. Hi, all my 4th grade friends. Love your beekeeper, Tiffany. And one of them asked like, well, is there a king bee? Like, and I'm like, well, no. And the queen isn't even the queen, you know, like she's not like dictating and sitting on a throne, right? Like the idea of the queen bee is very misconstrued. She goes on one mating flight her whole life. She gets all of the eggs she's ever gonna lay in that mating flight. She goes back, she starts laying eggs, and that's all she does is egg production. She doesn't decide for herself where they're gonna go. The workers are going to guide her and say, lay this one here, make it a boy, make it a girl, do some more, slow down, get out of the hive, right? And so at some point in her life, she's actually going to get kicked out of the hive. And so half of them, actually, it's not that, is it 75%? I don't know, beekeepers, I just took the test, you'll have to correct me, but a lot of them will go with the old queen to the new hive, right? And the ones that are left over will create a new queen. In fact, they'll create several queen cells. And the first one out basically usually wins, and she goes around and kills her sister queen cells so that she can reign supreme, go on her mating flight, come back and lay eggs, and the process continues. Why am I telling you this story? Because leadership may look like leadership, but it might not be leadership at all, you know? And so be careful what we are listening to, what we're striving to, things like that, right? It's like, oh, isn't that curious? You know, you're actually not the boss of me. I'm actually influencing you. And what a great responsibility when we start to look at the world through call and response eyes, right? Through the mirror image eyes, through, I think you're feeling me. Just look for clues, spiritual signposts in forms of leadership. Look for clues with things that you're unusually attracted to, things that kind of stand out to you or you're curious about. That June 6th through 12th will be a fun time. It's a great time to just read a mystery on the beach, right? Like if you want to check out in healthy ways that are interesting and fascinating, like hopefully something new will come out and you'll be just riveted with it, right? Like you can binge watch it that week, something fun. Now, the third week, June 13th through 19th, this is an interesting week. There's a manifestation portal that I feel is very powerful if you'll wait for it. Now, it's bookended by some weird astrology. It's like tornado, rainbow, tornado. It's weird. So if you blink, you might miss it. So as they say in yoga, concentrate, meditate, concentrate, meditate, and just stay focused, just stay with it. If you blink, you might miss it. You might miss your little portal if you blink. So you want to stay focused on when that opportunity, you want to be poised and you want to be ready for it. What is going on is that Mars is going to conjunct Chiron. I feel like that's really ouchy, pain point, hard vibes, like, healing from trauma, dissolving the pain body, like all of the ouchy stuff. It can be like anger issues, drama, triangulation, codependency, you know, all of the buzzwords, right? Is there something that you have felt deluded by, or that just is like, no way, this is not working? There's some level of delusion, deception, that very Seven of Swords card on the front end of that week. But then the sun's going to trine Saturn, but then it's going to square Neptune, right? And then Venus is going to square Saturn. So tornado, rainbow, tornado. Weird week. So the high vibes, you know, trying to harness that positive change into right action in that one moment, it's going to require that we wait for it, that we don't force it, that we don't plan it, that we just stay awake. But I do feel like there's going to be a spark of whoosh, that's it, that's the thing that you're going to be able to see and get a yes for. And it might be hard on both sides. You know, it can be simple and not easy. If we're going through a very intense time, just wait for the miracle to happen, because it's in there. It is in there. It might be disguised, but it's in there. So Saturn trine the sun likes a really long-term commitment, really likes to whatever, sign a new lease, do something that is more like overtime feeling. This isn't just like a quick, easy switcheroo. This is something that really requires like the longer picture. So keep that in mind. You know, your gold nugget that week might be something that is requires a longer period of time. Remember, Saturn and Neptune both retrograde, and that's a 5-month situation. So what you're entering into is probably longer than 5 months. Okay. So high vibes, hard vibes. If you're feeling that heavy weight, that weight of responsibility, if you're feeling like your happiness is denied and your dreams aren't coming true, really, it's an attitude adjustment, right? It's just an attitude adjustment. You can go back to that exercise I was talking about, the Joe Dispenza one, hand on the heart, kegel up, remember something joyful, happy, that you just love, and then lay a new intention over it just for a second. Just see if you can hold it for a second. And then maybe over the month, you can hold it for 5 minutes. Maybe you can hold it for 20 minutes. I don't know. Maybe you're just like gonna evaporate, levitate, turn into a guru with all this good practice, right? But the idea is to really do it, and it'll work for you. Okay, so things are helping you. It might not look like that. It's a tricky week. The June 20th through 26th, now we're talking. So now opportunity is gonna knock. Venus is gonna sextile Neptune. Thank you. Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter. Good news, right? Venus is going to trine Pluto. Money's back. Sun is going to enter Cancer. Relationships feel better. Venus is going to be in Gemini. Not a fan. Not a fan of Venus in Gemini. Like, there might be some wafflings and back and forth stuff, but it feels very flirty. It feels very, why don't I like it? Because I'm a Scorpio and I like to go really deep, all the way down. And Venus in Gemini is a little bit more superficial, flirty. Like, what I mean is like surface level stuff. Surface level stuff can be fun, but it's just not my personal favorite, right? So it's very socially butterfly things, and I would rather be like deep diving into a subject one-on-one, right? So that's just my flavor. Don't let me harsh or mellow that week, because there's a lot of opportunity that week. There's Venus sextile Neptune. That's very creative. That's very like breathing new life into an old project. It's very like get behind a cause and support something, support the underdog. It's very much like we all rise together, the tide that lifts all boats. It feels like, okay, if this is a month where we should be in communion and gathering and being together and coming together in connection, that is like, you know, have you ever been to like a music concert and everybody's singing the same song and the lighters are up and it feels good and you're in that moment in time? And like, I really should have been at the first, like the Woodstock. That is so my spirit, right? That's that feeling. Venus sextile Neptune, like we're all just singing the same song. It feels good and we're just uplifting. It feels like we're in connection with something greater in the unseen world, right? Everybody's in harmony. That's that vibe. What a great vibe to catch that week. On top of that, Mercury sextile Jupiter. So you're at the music concert and everybody's singing and the lighters are up, and then boom, good news happens in that moment. And that might be what you have been practicing for with our little hand on the heart, kegel up, meditation, overlay some good news, right? This might be the moment that you've been practicing for. So think big. Mercury sextile Jupiter, depending on where it hits your chart, let's see, sorry, I thought I wasn't recording, may be an optimal time for you to do some self-promotion, right? Put the megaphone up. Jupiter is loud, makes things bigger, makes big announcements. Rewriting resumes, self-promotion, working with the media, working with books, working with publishing, working with traveling, overseas connections. Jupiter rules foreign languages. So if you ever wanted to learn a foreign language, this might be a great time to practice it, right? I love Spanish. It's my favorite, and I'm pretty fluent in it. I can hang in there pretty well. But I love the app, the Duolingo app. And so I've been playing around in other languages too. And to me, more than one at a time is too much. So I feel like I just have to do that one at a time. But Venus and Gemini, maybe you are trying to learn 3 or 4 different languages, right? Like it's just that kind of a feeling. In a way that connects you, right, to other people and other walks of life. They're very, very different. If I had the opportunity to homeschool my children, I would have had them like get into a musical instrument, speak a foreign language, and obviously travel, right? Because that's where you start to see the world outside of your little realm. I'm going off on a tangent, but I think it's an important one because Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter, and it's going to be good news, and it's going to come from an unexpected place, right? It's going to come like that lightning bolt feeling, that opportunity knocks. I can't believe it's this good. So you might be self-sabotaging. That's why we want to rewire your neural pathways, especially as Mercury is going to be moving into Gemini, right? Like it's time to relearn some things, and it's going to require right action. It's like right action will create right thinking. And the right action, like it's all mixed together. You know what I mean? It's like we're rethinking, we're doing new behavior, and the new behavior creates the better thought, and the better thought creates the better frequency to attract the thing that you're wanting. And then it all like starts to feel good. And in those moments, we tend to self-sabotage. So just be really careful. If that's part of your pattern, how can you rewire that? You know, how can we help you? Do you want to get a one-on-one session with us? Is there somebody else in your world that can help you say like, I see the truth in what's going on here, let me help you uncover that. And happy birthday to the Cancers. The sun moves into Cancer that week. All right, so June 20th through 26th, opportunity knocks, feels good. I kind of harshed on Venus in Gemini a little bit. I just feel like sometimes it creates an opportunity to feel caught in the middle and to triangulate. And I don't know if you're feeling like that. Venus and Gemini likes to talk, right? So being very chatty. I don't like to talk. Like I like to bullet point list things out. I don't like to be on the phone for hours on end. So that's probably another reason why it doesn't feel great to me. But that's just me. Sometimes it does help me to talk things out, and it surprises me some of the things that come out of my mouth. So talk therapy can be helpful if you choose the right people to talk to. June 27th through 30th, so the end of the month. This is a good one, a good juicy one too. So Mercury is going to sextile Chiron, Mars is going to sextile Saturn, so there's going to be energy behind that thing that you committed to. Neptune will do its retrograde dance. The sun's going to square Jupiter. Sounds scary, but it's not. It's actually very empowering, very juicy, very energizing. Venus is going to sextile Jupiter. That's really good with love and money. Sun's going to be in gate 52. So, you know, whatever's been clouding the skies, it's like it's past. It could be a really positive week as long as we wait to respond to life, we enjoy the passage of time, and we're just like on the lazy river. The second we get off the lazy river and start trying to direct traffic, we interfere and it slows things down. So you're better off just waiting, you know, and that can be uncomfortable. So July 27th through 30th, that Jupiter energy to me feels like you are your own lucky charm. So don't look outside, like you be the good luck charm in your life, right? You know the practices, you know what to do, you know how to meditate, you know how to use astrology to your advantage. We have lots of tools on our blog. Go to wiseguyscollective.com, check us out, and we'd be happy to support you if you want a one-on-one session too. heads up, because in July, right, the United States gets their second wave of 3 direct hits of their Pluto return this year. So the first one was in February, the second one's in July, the third one's in December, and it's a really pivotal month for the nation. And I feel like we're going to see some more signs of that in June, but I kind of want to ignore it because the mojo is so good in June. I just want to like hang on to that good Sun in Cancer feeling for just a little bit. But you might see huge crashes of this, like with the Supreme Court stuff that's been going on in the news. You might see huge crashes in the supply chain. Really pivotal month for the United States because Saturn retrograde is going to press down onto the natal moon of the United States chart, depending on which chart you look at, but there's going to be this compression over it. And I feel like an emotional response from the people. So I feel like we might see some more either strikes, like work, like class crises. Does that make sense? People are going to reorient themselves, restructure the party lines, restructure the state lines, restructure community lines. And I just feel like people are kind of tired of being controlled or duped or a feeling of oppressed. You know what I mean? They're just not having it anymore. So borders, boundaries, challenged, changing. Uranus is going to conjunct the North Node. So that's a twist of fate. That's something is pulling us forward. So it's going to be okay. But Uranus is also in Taurus, like shaking up food and finance. That's why I'm like on the bandwagon of, okay, like get your gardens planted, like be prepared, like have things that are shelf stable. I don't hoard food, but I probably have 3 or 4 jars of peanut butter. I got enough protein, like shake and, you know, like a nut milk that doesn't go bad. I mean, that's what I do. Maybe it's crazy, but maybe it's not, right? It certainly wasn't last February when we predicted that Saturn Uranus square, and we here where I live had no power, no electricity, no all the gas. There was no gas, no food, no way to get stuff. It was a situation that, like, the domino effect really was a problem here. So Mars is going to conjunct Uranus at the end of July. So I just feel like things are going to heat up and really just get very explosive, very disruptive. In my 2022 forecast, I was predicting a lot of forest fires in July, and we're seeing them. I'm recording this in May, but we're seeing, like, golly, like New Mexico. Let's all pray for New Mexico. Like, it's just out of control. You know, the wildlife, the livestock, the people, retirement homes, children growing up there. You know, it's just turning into such a massive disaster, right? And so those are the types of things that I was predicting more in July. Maybe we're seeing them early. So let's just keep a level head, let cooler heads prevail, try to enjoy the passage of time in June, you know, and that doesn't mean that you have to shut yourself off from the world. This is a month of connection, of enjoying a different pace, enjoying some different spaces even, and letting your conscience be your guide. I have a couple of quotes for you in the blog. So if you want to go check that out, you just go to wiseguyscollective.com. Under tools, you go to the blog and you look for the June forecast, and you can see all of this listed out for you, plus some exercises and stuff that I think will be useful this month. So if you got nothing else, right, just, this is the month, this is the lazy river month. Lazy river with your friends in the tube, enjoying some sun, enjoying some water, right, staying hydrated and going at a slower pace. So hopefully that's useful to you. If you want more specific data on the dates, we have a free version of our digital calendar online, wiseguyscollective.com, digital, or I think it's astrology calendar. Let me look for you. Yes, so astrology calendar. And if you scroll down, you get like a whole free version of it. And it's, you can like mouse over the different transits and there's descriptions on them. So it'll tell you, so you can start to learn astrology that way too. I don't know, guys, I want to keep hanging out. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting to say, that it's like, oh, you shouldn't have told them that, or like, what did you forget? But this is a month after, June is after Mercury retrograde. So all I can tell you to wrap this up is you're going to have a lot of different data points entering June. And this is a month to kind of relax into them, to let time pass, let truth be revealed over time, and just go with the flow, right? Just go with the flow. So until next time, guys, appreciate you being here and hanging out, and namaste.